Welcome to a little tea time. Y'all ready? Welcome to a little tea time. Oh yeah. Welcome to a little tea time. Who listening? Welcome to a little tea time. All right. Welcome to a little. Hey. Welcome to a little. Welcome to a little. Hey. Welcome to a little. Welcome to a little tea time. Welcome to a little tea time.
All right. Hello. How's it going? Everyone around the world, if y'all heard that music, y'all know that it is a little tea time with me, Jarek, the Gifted One Thomas, aka JRUSD, your favorite self-published author. And today I have some guests with me that I am so looking forward to interviewing. I met them both at my first um book signing when my first book came out with Coming Full Circle Face first came out in 2017, maybe 2018 is when I met them. And I was honored to be one of their guests at the Shreveport Writers Club event that they had January of 2020. And so I reached out to them and asked how would they feel about doing my live show here on Facebook, and they agreed to come on. So I'm about to tag them in and see if they're ready to come on. Let's see if I can get them in. I just sent the invite for them to come in, and I am definitely going to wait on them to try and come on into the actual show. In any case, while we're waiting on them to get ready to come on, um, I had the pleasure of working with them and becoming a member of the Shreveport Boulder Writers Club. And I'm so excited and so humble to have them to do this show today. I think they're ready to come on, so I'm adding them now. You guys, I want to welcome you all. Tiffany, Pennywell, and DL Holmes. I'm waiting on them to come on into the feed right now. And while we're waiting on them to come into the feed, I gotta shout my cousin out, Mr. Sweat. Mr. Sweat, thank you so much for helping me get this swag back. You got me looking like and feeling like $1,000,000 today, Mr. Sweat, sir. So shout out to you, Kinfolk. I love you, man. Curtis Sweat, thank you so much. Thank you so much, also Lionel King brother, for being on my live today. Press like and press share if you do not mind. I want people around the world to get into this while you're watching as well. So I'm still waiting on Tiffany and DL Holmes to come on in. I am in a really good place today. I'm in a really good space today with this particular show because I am a published author, as y'all know. I'm a 4-time self-published author, and having the honor of connecting with other authors has been one of the greatest things in my life in the last 4.5, 5 years. So I do not take what I do lightly when I started what I'm doing here. And it has been a very great ride so far. Um, Still waiting on my guests to get ready if they're out there listening, if they're looking. I'm still waiting on y'all to come into the feed. But if y'all are not ready, just let me know. Um, so as y'all know, um, my 5-year anniversary is coming up for the release of my first book, the release of Coming Full Circle, the revised edition. The 5-year mark is November the 1st. And I have the idea to do this big party, like a big soiree. Just a thank you party to all of my readers, to everyone who has been supporting what I've been doing for the last 4.5, almost 5 years, November the 1st. I'm tossing this idea out to everyone who's watching today and to people who would get a chance to watch it, to let me know how would y'all feel about me having just a small gathering, just a small get together. I'm thinking maybe 50 people. I want to say 50 people to do this event. Um, just as a way of just giving back to the community, as a way of just saying thank y'all so much for supporting what I've been doing over the years. And I'm very humble and very humble and very grateful for anyone who has been a part of this journey with me. And I cannot thank y'all enough. Okay, we look like we have a couple of technical difficulties getting my guest on. I'm gonna add them, try and add them again. Um, and I think this should work. But I definitely would love to
There's
be. I'm definitely wanting to plan an event for November the 1st. So my guests are now on.
Hello.
Hello, welcome to a little tea time with me, to Tiffany, Pennywell, and to DL Holmes. Thank y'all so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate you guys for just taking out y'all's time and just to come on today. Um, I'm very excited to have y'all on today because I wanted to give y'all a platform where y'all could talk more about what it is that y'all do with your books. Um, Knowing that I am a member of the Shreveport Writers Club, I wanted to bring in you guys so we could talk more about what we do in the Shreveport Writers Club and letting y'all have some time to just let people get to know who you are as artists and as writers. So definitely take the floor, let the people know who you are, and let them know about your work.
Hi, my name's Tiffany Pennywell.
I'm D.L. Holmes. I'm a Northwest Louisiana horror author.
And I write mostly poetry. I dabble a little bit of horror, but I'm mostly general poetry.
Okay. And what about you, DL?
Like I said, I mostly write horror. I do poetry. I have 8 pieces of published work. 3 are collaborations I did with Miss Pennywell, the Seemingly Strange and Unusual Tales series, which is a collection of erotic horror stories and poetry. I've also myself published 3 works of poetry and a new adult fiction novel called Mixtapes and Mistakes. I'm currently finalizing a new novel that I will have out mid-October. And I also run a podcast. It is the abbreviated version of my YouTube channel, DL Holmes Presents. It is DL Holmes Presents. It is live every Wednesday, and it is a horror short story and media genre discussion podcast.
Okay, cool. So how can people follow you to find that on for your show, DL?
So you can for me in my profiles, you can find a link, which is I'm d.l.holmes on Instagram. I'm also author DL Holmes on Twitter. And then you can actually find me directly on Spotify by the show's title, DL Holmes Presents. And you can follow the page on Spotify and click the alert, and you'll hear the show every Wednesday.
Okay, cool. So as I was telling the people at home before y'all came on, I met you guys at the first event that I got to do, which was one of my first major events. And I was a part of a panel with you guys as all of us were authors on this panel. And I had a great time meeting you guys. Y'all were really cool. Your energy was very different and very fun. And it's been really cool just to work with y'all. Um, I know that we collaborated on a book that we all did together. If y'all have that book, let's talk more about the book if y'all have it available with you today.
Okay. That book is for you talk about the Shreveport Writers Club anthology.
Yes.
Yes. That book. Give me one moment. Let me grab the cover for it.
Okay.
Okay, sure.
And if y'all have any of y'all own works there too, definitely want to try and take the time to support and promote your own book swap if you have them there with you guys. Because that was the reason for the show. I wanted to give people out there an opportunity to get to know y'all as artists, to get to a spot where y'all can network more and your brand can continue to grow. So I was definitely excited to have y'all on today. DL, we had a great time at the critique group meeting this past weekend.
I'm glad you were there.
Yeah, man. I had been inside for weeks, so to be a part of the group, it was really cool. And getting to share some of my own work that I'm currently working on is also really cool too. So
Yeah,
definitely had
and
a great
also,
time with that.
oh yeah. So, and for anybody that doesn't know, so for the Shreveport Writers Club, we have the general meetings that we have, which is the first Saturday of every month. But then the third Saturday of every month, we have a critique group, and what that is that you can share anything you're working on, even if it's just a concept, just amongst your peers for anybody that wants to just kind of get some feedback. But the first piece in 2019, we have released the Through the Years, which is a collection, it's an anthology of all the writers from the Shreveport Writers Club. And the recent release we were just talking about right here is For a Shorter Social Distance Tomorrow. And that's another collection of works of various writers and artists from Shreveport.
Yes. I was very happy to be a part of that anthology series with you guys. That was one of the main part of the steps of me getting my poetry out to a broader audience. And having that book published, my work published with you guys, that was definitely something that I cried about. I didn't cry on air,
Aw.
but I definitely did cry when I saw that those pieces were selected to be in that anthology book, and it definitely was something that I definitely appreciated as a working artist, and to be in the presence of such great artists like y'all, it's definitely a humbling experience for me because I'm kind of like y'all in a way where I'm real shy about my work and I'm real shy about me talking about my work. But I also understand that when you're an artist, you have a responsibility to share your experiences and share stuff that's very relevant to other people. And
Mhm.
you can heal people through your work. So definitely was very fortunate to be a part of that with y'all. Um, so I'm gonna ask y'all both the same question, and y'all can both give an answer or either or. Where did you get your inspiration for writing?
Um, my inspiration for writing probably came when my mom was doing acting with Bossier Parish Community College
Hmm.
back in the 90s. I think she started when I was in maybe third grade, something like that. And I went to the practices with her. So I got to see the play from beginning to end, all the stuff they had to do with the props, sets, putting them together, watching the director work with the cast and the changes he would make to script and whatnot, just to adapt things. And I thought it was amazing. And I actually wrote a play after I finished fifth grade. For that summer, I wrote a play, and my cousins and I put it together at my house. My mom directed it and produced it, and we also made the sets and props for it as well. And it was a
That's
lot of
cool.
fun. And that was actually, and also my start off to the supernatural because it was a vampire play, um, which was influenced from my mom because when my mom would like do my hair in the evening, she'd always be watching sci-fi stuff and whatnot with the vampires and Star Trek and time travel and everything. And I believe that really set a basis to a lot of my writing. When I started writing poetry more so full time was in high school. I was inspired by Edgar Allan Poe. I loved his work, and it kind of resonated this with me, like the darkness or depression or sadness that I felt. And it was like, it's okay. You can feel that. It's okay to feel that. And his work was celebrated. Why wouldn't my work be celebrated? You know, why wouldn't that be okay? So a lot of my poetry became therapeutic.
Hmm.
And since it's hard for me to speak really to people and share my feelings, that was an easier way for me to share my feelings by writing it through. And in many ways, it helps me to actually find out exactly what I'm feeling, kind of
Hmm.
like a roadmap.
Okay. And for you, Dale?
So, my started writing came from my dad always shared with me from a very young age his love of film, and I've always had a love of reading. And because when I was growing up, my dad was always big on if you can read it or you want to read it, there's a dictionary, there's a thesaurus. So, go wherever you want. And I lost interest very young in reading as children's books, even though I was still a child. So I very early on started moving on to Gaiman, King, Barker, writers of the movies that I like to watch, which was horror. And I think the genre is important because I think that's some of the first basic forms of storytelling start off in that genre. And I started out drawing my own characters when I used to draw, and then scripting. And one day my dad came home. I was 12 with an old IBM ThinkPad, and it was middle of the night and I couldn't sleep. And I just started writing my own fantasy shorts, my early shorts. They're hundreds of pages, long epic novels, my own kind of Tolkien verse. And I haven't put the pen down ever since.
Okay, cool. So to hear that y'all been got the inspirations from your families, that's really cool. That lets me know that in the people watching around the world that your families played a very big influence in you guys headed in the direction that y'all have went in as writers. So how long have y'all been writing?
Mm, I'm gonna say since fifth grade. I mean, I did, I think, a poem in third or fourth grade for a competition at a center where my mom was tutoring. I think I got fourth place, which I was very proud of. But it's just after that, mostly after that fifth grade year, after my mom did Camelot at Bibsy, it was just like I was always writing, doing something.
Hmm.
I'd say I've been writing since I was about 12, 13. I grew up in Chicago, so I moved from the ThinkPad to eventually taking a train myself downtown and going to poetry slams and poetry meetups, joining the high school paper and stuff like that. I've always kind of had my head in the water with it since, in 2007, there used to be poetry.com. I'm not sure if the site's still alive, but I submitted something to them and it had been published. And that was my first time ever having a piece or anything of mine published. So I've just kind of been hitting the ground ever since. It's something I've always had a passion for.
Okay, cool. Well, second question, because I'm just coming off the head, you guys. I'm being very spontaneous with today's show. Um, what were some of the works that you've done that have inspired you even more now that when you look back, if you would not have did those works, um, how would you feel if you had not done those works? So it's two questions. What work did you did that would most inspired you to keep writing? And then how would you feel if you had not done those works?
I think for me, when I was able to collab with DL on Seemingly Strange, which was our first book, that really opened up some doors for me. It started off because I did a convention, one of the first conventions in Bossier, and someone asked me whether I wanted to come do a convention in Mississippi, and I was like, sure. And I found out it was a horror convention. I'm like, well, crap, I don't have any horror stuff. But DL is the horror expert, and I was like, hey, why don't we collab and do something together and both get our names out there? And that's how Seemingly Strange and Unusual came to be.
Okay.
And that opened a door to a lot of different things I would have not normally written about. He actually helped me to learn to appreciate horror a lot more than what I did.
Hmm. Okay. And for you, DL?
It would have to be, I think, my first novella that I wrote, Escapes and Mistakes. This was It would challenge me because at first I'd only written short stories, and I'd had a lot of just small writings that I put together, just some scribbles, and I started to see over a while. I have a love of anthologies, either in film or in book. I love uh, pieces of several short stories, so I thought about what if I took that and made an entire novel out of it, and the shorts were excerpts to a larger story. And I worked with a artist that was local. They currently aren't. Stephen Kendall Goff did the art for Mixtapes and Mistakes, and upon releasing it, the more I worked on it, the more as the story evolved and changed. It went from this small concept to something big, and now I've written several short stories and I've written several books of poetry, but this is the first novel that I did, and it really cemented like, oh, I can write a book. Um, I'm more than just a contributor or a collaborating artist, and that really kind of inspired me to really do everything, because I was like, that's a new plateau for me at the time for when I did it. So
Hmm. Okay. So with the Shreveport Writers Club, because I am a member of the Shreveport Writers Club, I wanted you guys to explain more to the viewers. What is it that we do with the Shreveport Writers Club, and how can people become a member of the Shreveport Writers Club?
So we've always seen the Writers Club, which is cool, is kind of a support group for writers. It's a nonprofit organization. It's really a free space for anybody to come and share and engage with people that are going through the same thing that you're going through, which is basically being a writer and trying to figure out what that means to you as an individual and how that's going to correlate with the rest of the world from you. It was very instrumental for me. I joined right when I was starting my bachelor's program for creating writing for entertainment, just to have a sense of community uh, and what I was going through for writing from people that maybe had already been published or that were where I wanted to be or that were where I was. And I probably wouldn't have made it through my bachelor's or my master's or some of my publications without the support of the Writers Club. It's great. If you want to join, there's the Facebook, which is Shreveport Writers Club on Facebook. There's also the website, but you can always just come to a meeting. You can see when we have the meetings based on the Facebook, and there's the postings, and really just show up. You don't have to share anything. If you don't want to, you can always listen. Even with critique group, you can always come and just be a critiquer. You're not obligated to necessarily share your work or speak, but it is good to be around people that are going through what you're going through, that are other writers, and you have the opportunity to share your work amongst people that won't judge you, that will, you know if you just want somebody to listen to say, hey, this is a good idea, we're here for that. If you do want somebody to critique, say, hey, can somebody help me at it, can somebody tell me if my plot's falling off, or am I losing, or does my character seem authentic? We're here for that, for the entire process, and that's really what we do.
Also, for if you do want to join, it is $20, and that is for the whole year. Um, right now, we are currently meeting at Brownmore Library. We meet the first Saturday of each month from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., usually in one of the study rooms. And then for our critique group, we meet the third Saturday of each month from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We always have updates on our Facebook page. We will soon be having more updates on our Insta and our blog as well, StreetPortWritersClub.com. So that way you'll be able to get all the updates for anything that's going on. Also share, your information, your work and whatnot, because we like to um, showcase our members and help them to get their work out there as well. And you're really good at sharing your projects, and I wish more people were as good to do that as well.
Thank you so much. And I really want to personally thank y'all again for January 2020. I was their first guest of the year with the Shreveport Writers Club. And that was a really big deal for me. Because if y'all remember, I was sick when I did that first big thing with y'all. And I was sitting there and I pushed myself through it. But I was so grateful that they had invited me to be their guest, and I could not be there, even under the circumstances of me being sick. Um, it was a really great honor. So I wanted to impress you guys, one, just coming because I was sick, And two, I wanted to leave an impression that I wanted to be a part of this group because when I came in, I wanted to be a part of a group of writers. And I wanted to be a part of a support group where I get to meet all of these interesting people who also live this multifaceted life of being an author and a writer, as well as being a normal person. And it was really cool to come into these groups with you guys and to see all of the wonderful and amazing things that y'all do. Um, I'm just only scratching the surface with what I do, but I definitely appreciate seeing what y'all do. I love the energy and the dedication and the time that y'all put into y'all's work. I love the fact that y'all are like me. Y'all are offbeat just like me. You kind of go to the beat of your own drum. You're not necessarily trying to be a part of the collective. You're being the individuals that you are, and we need more of that in the world, where we see that there is everyone's going to the beat of the drum. Everyone wants to follow the leader. Everyone wants to be in the popularity contest. But then there are people like us who choose to go down our own lane, and we choose to set up and create wonderful, dark and mysterious and loving bubblegum pop worlds that we can continue to share with people. And I definitely am excited that y'all did my show today because I wanted you guys to be able to let people know who you are as artists, to let people understand that we have a place in the world where we have to be able to shine as well. And Tiffany, I wanted to bring this up, but I didn't know if I should have brought it up earlier. I know that y'all were saying that y'all were interested in doing the show for O&E Dynasty, um, because I didn't, and I don't want to bring it up now, but I'm gonna ask. I'll ask y'all once we get off the air, because I don't want to bring our personal business up into what we're doing here. But I know that y'all was talking about doing the show for O&E Dynasty, and I'll ask y'all more about that once we're finished here. But if y'all were definitely interested in doing that show, I would love to get y'all on for O&E Dynasty. And we can have some fun because when I do that show on O&E Dynasty, it's usually energetic, just like we are here. There's music and there's entertainment. And me being the LGBTQ host for what I do at O&E Dynasty, I want to find artists who are comfortable telling their story and being in a space where they can be transparent about who they are. And I would love to introduce you guys to O&E Dynasty as well, to bring y'all on, because y'all have a perspective that I have not heard on my show yet, and that I'm pretty sure other people would love to hear. So I definitely want to get with you guys more about that for sure. Do y'all have any upcoming projects that you would love for people to go out and support before we go?
Let's see. Yo mentioned his podcast.
Tomorrow there will be a new episode of Deal Holmes Presents. It airs every Wednesday. Like I said, you can find me on Anchor. You can find me on Spotify. Just looking up the title, and I will go ahead and do, since we're on your show, a title announcement. So my new book, Airport Cigarettes, will be out middle of October.
Awesome.
So look forward to that.
Okay, that sounds really cool, man. Airport Cigarettes. I've never heard anything like that. That sounds really fun. I like that. I like it.
Right now, I've just kind of been working on poetry, but I've also been branching out a bit. I've been doing a lot of DIY stuff, kind of Halloween related for my my Etsy shop, which is called Ebon Pignon Studios. So I've got some woodwork on there that I've stained and painted, and also some shirts that I've created. I've also been really busy with belly dance right now as well. I started taking a belly dance class, and it's been awesome and a dream come true because it's something I've always wanted to do. And I love expressing creativity in so many different ways.
Yeah,
And
I
we're
got
actually
to
going to be
see you.
performing this Saturday at the Red River Revel. at 7 o'clock.
Okay, definitely people want to get out to support Tiffany Pennywell at the Red River Revel. We definitely would love you guys to support D.L. Holmes with his new projects. And I definitely want to thank you guys so much. If you have the links for your projects, send them to me and I can share them once I start sharing the video, where we can have
Okay.
the links up. And I definitely want to thank you guys so much for taking out of your time to share all of the wonderful projects that you guys are doing and working on. And I'm gonna chat some more with you guys once we get out the air, but I definitely want to thank you guys for tuning in for a little tea time to my special guests, Tiffany Pennywell and D.L. Holmes, my fellow members of the Shreveport Writers Club. And I thank my viewers at home for tuning in today for this episode of A Little Tea Time. This is Jared, the gifted one Thomas. I am signing off. And until next time, you guys, be great on purpose, not on accident. The future is now.
Y'all ready? Oh yeah. Who listen? All right.